How are you going today? Welcome to your practice. Today we'll be focusing on hip health. I don't know about you, but personally I do struggle with tight hips just in general day life. So I like to do this flow or this sequence once a week, maybe twice a week, just to maintain some form of strength and flexibility, and together combined have healthy mobile hips. So we're going to start today in Supta Baddha Konasana. So laying down onto your backs, allow your feet to kiss together and your knees, resting one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart. Just take a couple of breaths here to get settled, to prepare yourself for your practice. Breathing in through your nose and out of your nose. And forgetting anything that's happened this week, today, up until this point. Just letting it go. With every exhalation, let go a little more. Ground down into your mat a little more. And I invite you to set an intention for your practice. No matter if it's big or small, just finding a why. Why have you stepped onto your mat? What do you get out of your practice? Or maybe the better question is, what does your practice get out of you? Two more breaths. And on your next inhalation, take your palms to the outside of your thighs and softly draw your knees together. As your knees touch in the midline, heel toe your feet to the width of your mat, just coming into a gentle internal rotation after such a large external rotation of the legs. And draw your knees into your chest, give yourself a little hug, and then rock back and forward a few times along your spine. And coming over into an easy cross-legged seat. So find your seat. You may like to prop your hips up onto a pillow or a blanket if you feel you need a little bit of extra tilt to aid the length in your spine. So sit nice and tall with a deep inhalation. And as you exhale, just gently spider crawl those hands forward, coming into some form of a forward fold. Now, depending on your hip flexibility, you may feel quite an intense stretch here. You may be really upright. Just know that over time, this will get better. Throughout the class, after we warm up through the hips, you should feel a lot more opening, a lot more space in the hips. But if you do this class a couple of times, you'll really start to reap the rewards, and maybe we get to that superhuman level hip flexion. You can sway from side to side, just making any movements here that feel good to you. And your hands walk back in. Place your fingers behind your back, lean back, switch the cross of your legs, and slowly fold forward once more. Now, generally speaking, this side will be your tighter hip. Usually we have one that's more flexible and one that's a little bit iffy. For me, my left hip is my tighter one. So just notice this. It's only natural. Everyone I've spoken to that I teach in class, everyone has the same thing, one tighter hip. So you're not alone here. 3 more breaths. Sinking down a little more. Breathe space into your back body, soften your shoulders. And slowly come back up. Place your hands off behind you once more. And take your feet, placing the soles of your feet to the earth just a little wider than hip width apart. And then we're slowly going to lower them towards the right. Now you'll find a little internal rotation through this hip. Your butt will lift off the floor. And see if you can arrange yourself in space here so that your right leg has a 90-degree angle and your back left leg has a 90-degree angle as well. Pressing the left knee and the right knee down to the earth. Hands behind you, and then we'll slowly transition all the way over to the left. See if those legs can stay in that 90-90. And then just windshield wiper from right to left, left to right. Pausing in any positions that feel good. If your hips are really tight, this back hand can always float off the ground. If you've done this video a few times or your hips feel okay, you can always do this no hands, but this is just the restorative part. When it's so early, we haven't warmed up. And when you finish your last round, we'll end on the right. Walk your hands in a little more and slowly begin to turn over your right leg. Sit nice and tall with a deep inhale. And exhale, slowly walk your hands forward. Now you can lengthen down as much as you like. You can be as high as you wish. Keep driving your right knee into the earth, flexing your right foot towards your toes. And imagine you're sending the breath to your left hip. Sorry, your right hip, I'm mirroring. This stretch feels so nice. 2 more breaths. And inhale, rise. And as you exhale, come back through center, all the way over to the left. Check in with your legs. Do they have the 90-90? You can always place blankets underneath your ankles if they are off your mat and it hurts a little bit. Again, sit nice and tall. And exhale, find your fold. Breathe deeply down into the base of your belly. Feel your belly expand with every inhalation. And feel your belly button draw in with every exhalation. Two more breaths. As you inhale, come back to center. Find your way over into your tabletop position. So your wrists are stacked under shoulders, knees under hips, knees hip width apart, and wrists or hands shoulder width apart. Spread your fingers wide. Drive down through the base knuckle of your thumb and your index finger. Now I say this with weight bearing on the wrists because this bone connects all the way through, so we have this beautiful strong point where in this side of your wrist it's all tissue, muscle, cartilage, fascia. So people tend to have all their weight on the outside of their wrists, and this is where we cause pain, injury. So just as a public service announcement, see if you can take that weight to the inside of your hands. So the base knuckle of each thumb and each index finger. Slowly start to make a couple of circles with shoulders over wrists. And go 3 towards the left. 3 towards the right. And 3 in any direction you choose. Nice. Coming to stillness in your tabletop. You can have your toes tucked or untucked. We'll take a deep inhale, lower your belly, gaze forward. Exhale, press and round. Inhale, lower your belly, gaze forward. Heart draws through your upper arms. Exhale, press and round. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more round, just gently opening up through the spine. Inhale. And exhale, round. As you inhale, come back to your neutral spine. Tuck your toes, press everything back and away, downward facing dog. Take a few moments to pedal through your heels, swish through your hips. Maybe you turn down the outside blade of the left foot and inside of the right. You get a nice side stretch, and then reverse. Just making movements here that feel good for your body. Nice. Coming to stillness, gaze forward, slowly walk your feet to the top of your mat. When you get there, fold in Uttanasana. Deeper bend in your knees. Feel this beautiful hinging at your hip crease. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And soften. Inhale, halfway lift. Shoulders draw back and down. Lengthen from tailbone through the crown of your head. Exhale, fold, ragdoll pose. Hold opposite elbow with opposite hand. Shake your head no, nod it yes. Sway from side to side. And just check in with how your hamstrings are today. Maybe they're really tight, maybe they're really loose. Just become aware. No judgment. Slowly release your hands. Inhale, we rise. Arms and gaze float to sky. Palms touch overhead. Gaze toward your thumbs. Exhale, draw your hands to your heart center. Surya namaskar A. 3 rounds, just with a slight modification. If you do have a block or any form of prop, anything that may be able to prop your buttocks up, it could be a book, a brick, toilet paper roll, I don't know, get creative, guys. So inhale, take your arms and gaze to sky. Exhale, swan dive, hinge and fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, your palms to earth, step back to your high plank. As always, with either knees raised or softened down. Lower down to your mat, your elbows stay tight to the body. Untucking your toes, inhale, Cobra Bhujangasana. See if you can press into the tops of your feet. And really draw your shoulders back and down and feel this engagement through your back body and engagement through your glutes. Slowly lower. Find your way back to downward facing dog as you exhale. One breath here. Inhale, raise onto balls of feet. Exhale, bend your knees, gaze forward, your journey to the top of the mat. Halfway lift, inhale. Fold in, exhale. Inhale, your arms and gaze sweep to sky. Exhale, hands draw to heart center. We'll add a modification onto the end of this round. Inhale, arms and gaze float. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift, inhale. Hands to earth, high plank, lower down to your mats as you exhale. Untuck your toes, press into the tops of your feet, lift your kneecaps off the earth, shoulders draw back and down. Inhale, rise, cobra, bhujangasana. Exhale, downward facing dog. This time, inhale, raise onto balls of feet. Exhale, bend knees, gaze forward. Step your right foot outside of your right hand. Then your left foot outside of your left hand. Coming into your yogi squat, malasana. Now you may be tight, it may be early in the morning. You can be high on the balls of your feet. You can place that prop or block underneath your buttocks and sit nice and tall. Or if you don't need a block, just be there. Hands to heart center, sit tall, press your knees wide with your elbows. And slowly place your hands to the earth. Fold in Uttanasana, heel toe those feet a little closer. Remove your prop if you used one. Inhale, halfway lift. Find a little more length. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms and gaze float to sky, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, hands to heart center. One more round. Inhale, arms and gaze drift skyward. Exhale, hinge and fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, palms to earth, high plank, lower down. Untucking your toes, Cobra Bhujangasana. Downward facing dog as you exhale. One breath. Inhale, raise onto balls of feet. Exhale, bend knees, gaze forward. Left foot outside of left hand. Right foot outside of right hand. Sink your hips deep. Yogi squat. Let's see if you can breathe here. Sit up a little taller, lengthening through the crown of your head. Your hips feel heavy. Your feet feel grounded. And slowly your hands place to the earth, lift your hips, fold in Uttanasana, heel toe those feet a little closer. Halfway lift, inhale. Fold in, exhale. Inhale, sweep arms and gaze to sky. Exhale, your hands draw to your heart center. Inhale, arms and gaze float skyward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, palms to earth. Step back to a high plank and lower. Now you can always skip this, resting in downward facing dog or in child's. Untuck your toes. Inhale, find your back bend. Really engage those glutes. Exhale, downward facing dog. 2 breaths. Release the tension through your neck. Soften your shoulders away from your ears. Deep inhalation, right heel floats to sky, 3-legged dog, high on the ball of the left foot. Gaze at your right hip. Is it square to the earth? Draw your right toes towards your right knee. Drive through your palms. And as you exhale, your right foot steps up outside of your right hand. Left knee softens, lizard lunge. Just create a few circles through your hips here. You'll hear me say it a lot, but lengthen through the crown of your head. With every pose, we really want to try and maintain good alignment, nice posture. Any pose that is causing you to round in or simply, slump and fold in, it's not good for you. Keep driving your right knee forward. Breathe. And tuck your left toes, lift your left knee, step back, high plank. Flow through your vinyasa if you wish. And we'll meet you in downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, take that left heel towards the sky, high on the ball of the right foot. Gaze at the left hip. Flex your left foot. Exhale, your left foot steps up outside of your left hand. Right knee softens down. Some circles through the hips here. Now, of course, if you have a little more opening through your hips, you can soften down onto your forearms. Maybe you come down onto your block. Just choose where you are. Pick your level. Maybe on Monday you're on palms, on Wednesday you're on forearms on a block, and on Friday or by Friday, forearms could be on the earth. Tuck your right toes, step back, high plank, vinyasa. So you exhale to lower. Untuck your toes, draw your heart through, deep inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale your right heel to sky. Exhale, your right foot steps up outside of your right hand. Left knee can soften down, or maybe that left leg stays raised. Try and find some stillness. Find more length through the crown of your head. Soft gaze just in front of your mat. Try not to be craning your head up or really rounding in. And keep your left palm grounded. Inhale, sweep your right arm to sky. Again, know that left knee can soften. Keep lifting, keep driving, sinking your hips down. Should be feeling a really juicy stretch. Or either stay here. Take your right hand to the inside of your right thigh and start to press that right knee away, coming onto the outside blade of your right foot, turning your heart open. Sinking your hips down. Be here for 5, 4, 3, 2. On 1, find your lizard pose once more. If you're on your palms, maybe you soften your right forearm down and then your left forearm down. Be here for 5 breaths. Close your eyes. Come back to your intention. And if you're on your forearms, find your palms. Step back to a high plank. Flow through your vinyasa. As you untuck your toes, draw your heart through, inhale. And as you exhale, downward facing dog. Right, other side. Inhale, left heel floats. 3-legged dog. Exhale, left foot steps up outside of your left hand. Remember, right knee can soften or it can stay raised. More length, more space between each breath, and a little more softness. Right palm stays grounded. Inhale, turn. Left arm to sky. See if you can take your left collarbone towards the sky a little more. Maybe that right underneath shoulder is trying to peek towards the ceiling too. Driving your left knee forward. Lift your right knee a little higher. If you wish, left hand to the inside of left thigh. Begin to press the knee away. Outside blade of left foot. Keep turning skyward and breathe. Don't forget about that right palm that's grounded. Ground down through the inside of the hand. And exhale, left palm to earth. Either stay here in your lizard, continually trying to sink your hips down, or soften down onto your forearms, maybe onto a block. Again, find some movements if you'd like. Deeper breath. And then raise onto your palms. Step back to a high plank. And the final vinyasa. Slowly lower. Untuck your toes. Find your back bend. Shoulders draw back. Inhale. Downward facing dog. As you exhale. Nice. Pigeon pose. Take your right heel to sky. Deep inhale. And your right foot comes forward and across your body. Your right ankle somewhere near your left palm, your left wrist. If you're up high, maybe you tuck your left toes and just inch your hips back. Now, your right leg doesn't need to be parallel with the top edge of your mat. That right heel can draw towards the height of the right hamstring, or it can be lengthened out. Just depends where you are in your hip opening journey. If you find that your buttocks is really high, try and stick a pillow or something underneath. And wherever you are, find some softness, maybe fold forward. I'm going to be here for roughly 5 breaths. Soft face, soft jaw. On your next inhalation, begin to come back up. Tuck your left toes, downward facing dog. Pedal those heels, swish your hips. And get some blood flow back into that right hip. And then we swap it over. Left heel raises, left foot comes forward and across. Take some time to sink in. Maybe you take a few sort of rotations through the hip. And when you're ready, hips walk back. Feel heavy through your hips sinking towards the floor. Again, you may like to sit up tall or sink all the way in. In yoga practices, in classes before, where I've taken at studios, I've had teachers come up to me or go to students and say, your leg has to be parallel to the top of the mat. I don't know if that's inherently correct. Everybody's different. Every joint, every bone, for every single person is different. So as long as you can feel the stretch in your glute, your hip, and it's not twinging your knee, that's the sensation we're going for. Feeling the stretch and not feeling a twinge. Now, if you're somehow feeling this in your shoulder, we might need to correct some alignment. But for the time being, if you feel this in your hip, perfect. And then incrementally over time, if this leg can start making its way towards parallel, perfect. And if not, it doesn't matter. 2 more breaths. Nice. Start to rise. Good work, guys. Pigeon's a pretty intense pose. Tuck those toes. Downward facing dog. Just find a little stillness here in your down dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. Spread your fingers wide. Drive down through the base knuckle of your thumb, your index finger. Externally rotate through your upper arm, so elbow creases shine forward. Find more length in your torso, soften shoulders away from ears. Tilt your pelvis a little higher. And thighs press back, heels descending towards the mat. I think I may have said it in last week's practice. This pose will get easier if you are just starting out. I remember when I first started, I had very sore shoulders, and the teacher said this is a resting pose. I was very perplexed as how this pose could be a rest, but over time I built the strength. I have the neural pathways to know where my body needs to be. And yes, now it does feel like a rest. It feels like a beautiful stretch. Beautiful. Soften your knees down to your mat. Sink your hips off over to the left or right. Swing your feet all the way around to the front of your mat. And we'll come into Baddha Konasana. So what we took on our backs, but we're just going to be seated. So supta in Sanskrit means supined or reclined. So soles of feet touch, knees splay wide, sit nice and tall. If you're feeling that you're leaning a lot out of the pose, you may like to place a blanket or a rolled up towel underneath your buttocks just to tip your hips forward, nice little bit of anterior tilt. So sit tall. If you feel okay here, lean forward. Know your feet can be as far away from you or as close to you as you wish. Let's find a steady breath. And start to sit back up. Lengthen both legs along in front of you. And tuck the flesh from your buttocks. The rolled up blanket or towel can stay here if you have it. And when you're ready, come into a gentle forward fold. Who cares if your hands reach your feet? It's like pigeon pose, it's that sensation. It doesn't matter if your hands touch your feet or your head touches your shins. It's that sensation. We're feeling into the gentle stretch on the back of our legs. And then your back body feels spacious. And even in this forward fold, breathe deeply down to your belly. And start to sit back up and lay down onto your backs. Hug your knees into your chest. And let go of your knees. Place your feet mat width apart. Arms go wide to a T. Take a deep inhale. And exhale, lower your legs to the left. Remove the mic pack so it makes it a bit easier. And inhale to rise. And exhale over to the right. Just keep rolling through your legs here, just releasing through your lower back. If you'd like to stay on one side, of course, please do so. Just letting the steady rhythm of your legs turning from side to side, massaging your glutes, your lower back. Maybe your eyes are closed down and starting to feel really relaxed. And then after your last round, your knees draw into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Take a deep inhale. And as you exhale, release arms, legs long, feet fall out to the side, palms turn up in this beautiful gesture of receival, Shavasana. This is the most important pose of the practice. And this is the hardest pose out of all of the asana. To lay here, trying to remain completely still, just observing your thoughts. Melt into your mat. Completely bliss out for a few moments. This is where I leave you for today's practice. Feel free to lay in Shavasana for as long as you like. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing your practice and inviting me into your homes. I hope you all have wonderful days, wonderful weeks, wonderful lives. Namaste.